Mi agradecimiento a Pablo Arga por su apoyo al canal mediante Patreon, a Gonzalo José Pérez por su apoyo mediante PayPal y a Xavi Hidalgo, quien me dio una agradable sorpresa donando 50 euros de golpe a través de Buy Me a Coffee. Muchísimas gracias por vuestro apoyo.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to this new special video. I was actually planning to make a video on a different topic, but some recent event forced me to change the plan. What are these recent events? Well, Dr. Yasir Qadhi finally responded to J. Smith. And what a response, mashallah. May Allah reward our brother Dr. Yasir Qadhi for this great video that he uploaded yesterday. For 5 months, J. Smith repeatedly brought the name of Yasir Qadhi in every single video he made. One day I was messaging a brother in Twitter and I remember I told him, calm down, wait, this all is going to backfire on these stupid people. And it did, it backfired, because the humiliation we are going to see today is the result of that hysteria. Long story short, Dr. Yasir Qadhi responded to J. Smith and pointed to 3 ludicrous claims that J. Smith made. And J made a response, and he did the one thing he shouldn't have done. When you make tens of long videos, 2 hours videos, 3 hours videos, the one thing you should not do is deny what you have said in every single one of them. Anyways, let's listen to Yasir Qadhi's response.
Okay, let me log on to this here. Here's what he has to say in this clip.
1936.
Right.
Because it was such a success in the city of Cairo, King Farouk, who then came to power in 1936, decided to put out a new edition for all of Egypt called the Farouk edition. The Farouk edition then took the Hafs text and made it Egypt-wide. 1936.
Right.
That was so successful in Egypt. But before that, I forgot one thing. When they did this in Cairo, when they Muhammad al-Haddad did this in Cairo, they took all the other Qurans that were different than Hafs. They took it out into a boat and they...
Please listen carefully to what he just said.
They took all the other Qurans that were different than Hafs. They took it out into a boat and they sank them in the Nile. They took all the other Qurans that were different than Hafs. They took it out into a boat and they sank them in the Nile.
Oh.
You haven't heard this before either.
No, we need to go down. We need to do some
they're
dives.
still there.
We need to do some dives.
So
don't waste your time. We have 10 of them right here. We've already found 31 of them.
Now this one actually did get me laugh out loud. Literally, I LOL'd when I saw this. This is comical. So apparently, all of the mushafs of Egypt in the reign of King Farouk, which is barely a century ago, that were not hafs, they were taken on a boat and they were dumped into the Nile. And now we have to go scuba diving to go retrieve them. By the way, I'm a scuba diver. I'm an advanced rescue nitrox certified scuba diver, over 200 dives. So if you need a diver, believe me, I'm more than happy to go diving anywhere. Wallahi, where does one begin? I mean, you do realize, Mr. J, you do realize that, forget how ludicrous you sound, the sheer quantity of Qur'ans that would meet your criterion would not just sink a boat, they would block the entire Nile. I mean, I don't even understand. Do you listen to yourself speaking? You think all the copies of the Quran that didn't conform to the quote-unquote version, which again shows your ludicrousness, there is no version. It is...
Okay, Dr. Yasir Qadhi's response is very clear. We've all heard J. Smith saying that the government of Egypt took all the mushafs which were different from Hafs, put them on a boat and dumped them into the Nile. And Dr. Yasir Qadhi's response was that this is stupid, it is impossible to take all the mushafs in Egypt and dump them into the Nile. It would never be possible to do this by any stretch of the imagination. Now let's hear J. Smith's response to Dr. Yasser Qadhi's.
And he made two major points on that and really confronted me. The first one is this idea of dumping the Hafs text, that was chosen by Muhammad ibn al-Husayni al-Haddad in 1924. And that I suggested that all the Qurans in the world were dumped in the Nile. I went back to look at the video and I didn't see where I said that. I never said all the Qurans in the world were dumped.
Excuse me? What did you just say?
I never said all the Qurans in the world were dumped.
Oh dear, oh dear. Let's listen again to what J. Smith said in the video that Yasser Qadhi responded to.
They took all the other Qurans. They took all the other Qurans. They took all the other Qurans. I never said all the Qurans in the world were dumped. He didn't even understand. I guess maybe he just didn't watch the video very carefully, I don't think he was intentionally trying to misquote me. It was actually a joke. If you notice, we're laughing about it. We're saying, isn't it interesting that they took out the other 29, we're assuming that there were 30 official ones. Hafs had been chosen in 1929 to standardize the test for high school students. And so in order to standardize these tests in Cairo, in the city of Cairo, they had to throw out all the others and ask Muhammad ibn al-Husayni Hazrat to choose one, and he chose the Hafs. And then they took the other ones. When I'm saying he took the other ones, the other ones of the high school students there who had brought them to the schools, those were taken out. And this is nothing more than a symbolism. It's symbolic throwing them into the Nile. Of course, no one would suggest, and I don't know where he got this idea that I was making a suggestion that all the Qurans in the world at that time were thrown into the Nile. Anyways, nonetheless,
Jay is saying that when he said they took all the Quran, he was talking about only these Qurans which were in that school. He was talking about a symbolic act, just taking a number of Qurans and dumping them into the Nile as a symbolic act to show that only this version, only Hafs is the official one, all others we have dumped them into the Nile, and that's a symbolic act, which means that they are no longer valid. Maybe when J. Smith said they took all the other Qurans, it was a slip of the tongue. Let's now watch other videos where J. Smith made the same point, but in a very clear, explicit manner.
So she came back with about 6 of these back to London, and she showed me to them. She said, "Jay, what are these?" And I started laughing because I'd heard about this. These are called qira'ats. These are called different readings. Different readings. They're all Arabic, but they are read differently depending on where you put the dots and the vowels. Now, I had heard about this when I was in seminary, when I was under Dr. Dudley Woodbury. He'd remember hearing about it, but I didn't know there were any qira'ats today, existing today. I thought these had all been dumped into the Nile in 1924 when they finally came up with this one.
So she took whatever she could, brought it back to London. We looked at it, and of course, I knew about this because I've been studied about it. We had been told about this back in the 1990s when I was studying under Dr. Dudley Woodbury. And so we knew that these qira'ats, I just didn't know they still existed. I thought they'd all been dumped into the Nile River back in 1924 by the Muhammad ibn al-Husayni al-Haddad, when they came across and they made this a canonical text.
The Hafs, basically reading.
The Hafs, the text.
Right.
The other 29, I assumed that they had been thrown into the river.
And then said, "Jay, what's going on here?" I said, "Oh, well, I didn't know you could still buy them. I thought these were all destroyed in 1924.
And so she brought them back to London with her and said, "Jay, what are all these different Qurans?" And I said, "No kidding." See, I'd heard about this when I was in my studies, that there were many Qurans, but I thought these all went out of date after the 10th century. And I thought by 1924, when the final Quran, the Quran that was chosen, this one here, the Hafs Quran, when this was finally chosen in 1924, 96 years ago, I thought that they had destroyed all the other ones. It became the standard for just the schools in Cairo. And they took all the other qira'at, the ones that differed with it, took them out into a boat and threw them into the Nile. 1924. Do you know what happened next? What did they do with all the other 29 that disagreed with Hafs?
Didn't they have to drown them or something?
They took him out to a boat and threw him into the River Nile. And didn't you just get done saying a little while ago that when Muslims don't like something, they either burn it, or they censor it, or they stop comments on it, or they drown it. Anytime they don't like something, they try to get rid of that which disagrees. So the other 29, they took out into a boat, and they threw them into the Nile, thinking that would get rid of them.
I think he couldn't get more clear than this, could he? He did think that all the qira'at were destroyed in 1924 when they took them on a boat and dumped them into the Nile. I'm sorry, Mr. J, but you cannot do this anymore. You cannot deny what you have said 10, 20 times. It makes things worse for you. Now the damage you caused to yourself has already been done. It's not possible to undo the damage. You cannot deny things anymore. Now you have to live with it. Accept that you have made career-ending claims. Denying them won't work because I'm watching you. Now the only thing you can do is you can either insist on those ludicrous claims or apologize for everything you have said, because this is just one topic that Yasser Kadi pointed to. Watch my channel. Watch the videos I made and the videos I'm going to make in future. There are more stupid claims than this that you will never be able to deny, because in each video I make, I don't just put one statement, I put multiple statements that you have made in several videos, which makes it impossible for you to deny or to accuse others of taking your words out of context. If only you were a little bit wise in the past 5 months, this wouldn't have happened.
The preservation of the Quran is like this ocean. Waves after waves, Muslim men, women and children, generations after generations, they come, they memorize, they preserve, and they pass this text, this blessed text of the Quran to the future generations. Anyone who fights the ocean of the preservation of the Quran drowns in...
Sinceramente, lo que diga este apologista cristiano con su sesgo antiislámico me es indiferente. Lo que interesa es lo que digan los académicos historiadores. Por ello, te voy a dar una cita exacta identificando la fuente. Dice así: a principios del siglo XX, por lo tanto, la forma del Corán habría parecido cualquier cosa menos clara. De hecho, el gobierno egipcio se motivó a iniciar el proyecto que llevaría a la edición del Corán de El Cairo debido a las variaciones o errores, como lo describe un apéndice de la edición del Cairo, que se encontraron en los textos coránicos que habían estado importando para las escuelas estatales. En respuesta, el gobierno destruyó una gran cantidad de esos textos hundiéndolos en el río Nilo y emitió su propio texto. El proyecto de El Cairo siguió así el espíritu del califa Uthman y el gobernador al-Hajjaj Ben Yusuf, o como se lea, de quienes informa que destruyeron versiones competidoras y distribuyeron su propio texto del Corán en el primer siglo islámico. Fuente: El Corán en su contexto histórico, página 2, por Gabriel Said Reynolds. Gabriel Said Reynolds es profesor asistente de estudios islámicos y teología en la Universidad de Notre Dame, donde se especializó en estudios coránicos. Realmente, tanto a los apologistas cristianos como a los apologistas del Islam nos interesa ciertamente la historia. Lo que os interesa es defender, sea como sea, vuestros dogmas de fe. Y si para ello hay que ser deshonestos, pues seáis deshonesto.